Hello everyone and welcome to today's Daily Splat. Now then, for the next 20 days there are going to be daily videos. I promise you that much, barring any sort of unfortunate incident that incapacitates me. Basically the Premier League season is coming up in the next 20 days, and as regular viewers of these videos will know, I'm a big fan of the Premier League, in particular my beloved Manchester United. So I figured, to help with the countdown through this final part of pre-season, we'd do a 20-team review, essentially, or preview, I suppose, for the upcoming season. Just work our way through the 20 teams competing for the Barclays Premier League trophy this season, and basically just have a look at their prospects. We'll do it alphabetically and start with Arsenal. So, the Gunners finished 4th last season, very disappointingly, some would say, given that they had done very well for a lot of the campaign and looked like they'd really be challenging for that title. But then it all exploded for them. They've gone 6 years without a trophy. They lost in the Carling Cup final to Birmingham City. Huge shock. Birmingham, of course, later relegated from the Premier League as well. They ended up finishing 4th despite playing very, very well in the first half of the season. They drew 4-4 with Newcastle, throwing away a 4-0 half-time lead. For it to only end in a draw. They had shockingly bad defeats to teams that you'd expect them to beat. There's a game against Bolton in particular that I remember that they just looked completely out of it. There was the what looked like a winner, and then the even later equaliser from Dirk Kuyt in the game against Liverpool, which ended in a 1-1 draw when they were under pressure. And there were just lots of other results where they just threw away points needlessly. There was a goalless draw with Blackburn at the Emirates. They really should have hammered home, but they just didn't. They also lost out in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup to Manchester United. They were knocked out of the Champions League by Barcelona. They're more forgivable defeats, I suppose. But for Arsenal, they need a trophy. Arsene Wenger needs a trophy. Can this team win a trophy? Certainly, they're more capable than most. The problem is they've got to compete with some teams that are just more confident, but I dare say it's better managed. I think this season is absolutely crucial for Arsene Wenger to reaffirm his genius. He hasn't won a trophy in 6 years. The first 6 or so years of his Arsenal reign, he could do no wrong. They went a whole season unbeaten. They got to the final of the Champions League. They won the FA Cup a few times, but they haven't won anything in this second 6-year period. And if he wants a third 6-year period, quite frankly, I think he needs to bring some form of success this season. Now, obviously, this is being recorded on the 24th of January, or 23rd, my watch might be a day out. That being the case, the transfer window is still open for another month, and a few Arsenal players have been linked with moves away, namely Cesc Fabregas, who is perennially on his way to Barcelona, and Samir Nasri, who's been linked with moves to either Manchester United or Manchester City or even Chelsea or maybe Inter Milan, because he only has a year left of his contract and hasn't really been forthcoming in saying, "Ooh, I'd love to stay at Arsenal." If they can keep those two players, they will have a good chance of winning something this season. Even if they lose one of those players but keep the other, they will still have a good chance of winning something. If they lose both of them players, it will be very difficult, I think, for them to win the league. A cup run, certainly they'd be capable of, but losing both Fabregas and Nasri would be disastrous. However, they could keep them both, and then you're looking at a side, a very strong midfield with the likes of not only Nasri and Fabregas, but you've got young Jack Wilshere, who's very talented. You've got Alex Song, who's very, very, very good as a central defensive midfielder. Aaron Ramsey, who's making his way through. Abu Diaby, who certainly isn't bad. Emmanuel Aboué, the less said about him, the better. So, couple that with the fact that up front they've got Robin van Persie, who, for my money, is very underrated as a forward. If he can stay free of injury for most of the season, there's a good source of goals. You've got Theo Walcott on one flank, you've got Andre Arshavin, who's capable of turning a game. Of course, he's not been brilliant in his most recent season, but they have signed the Ivorian Gervinho from Lille this summer, and I think he could well prove to be one of the best signings of this transfer window. I really, really rate Gervinho from what I've seen of him, and I think he can play up front if Van Persie's injured, he can play on the flanks, and I think he's got a really good eye for goal, and I reckon he could actually go down as being a really good Arsenal player if he settles. He's come from the French League. Players from the French League tend to do quite well over in the United Kingdom. I reckon he could be a future Premier League superstar. And that, I know, is quite a bold claim, but we'll have to wait and see. Defensively, there are issues for Arsenal. No sign of an incoming goalkeeper suggests that Wojciech Szczesny, forgive me if I've mispronounced that, will be staying in nets, which could turn out to be a good thing. He's a young keeper, but he's got a lot of talent. Thomas Vermaelen is hopefully going to be fit for a game this year, and he's a cracking central defender. And I think a lot of people will be reminded of that if he plays frequently. Other defenders, well, they've got Sagna at right back, who I thought was fantastic last season, and probably Arsenal's best player of last season in terms of playing well to his role. They have lost Gaël Clichy to Manchester City. No big loss, I'd say. Kieran Gibbs, I think, is a more than capable replacement and may well prove to be a lot better in the future. The other centre-back, that's where they need to make a signing, I think. You know, assuming that they keep Nasri and Fabregas, obviously if they lose one of them, they might need to bring in somebody there. They need a centre-back, whether it be Per Mertesacker from Germany or Christopher Samba from Blackburn, Gary Cahill from Bolton. Scott Dann has been linked with them recently, and give Scott Dann a go. He was brilliant for Birmingham. He got injured, missed the second half of the season, Birmingham went down. I don't think it's a coincidence. Scott Dann and Roger Johnson were brilliant together. Johnson's now got to Wolverhampton, so they can't get him, but Scott Dann might be worth a punt. All in all, though, what do I think Arsenal's chances this season will be? Oh, before I go on to that, Laurent Koscielny, I thought, in the final few games of last season, when the pressure was off a bit, I thought he started to look quite promising, so there may be hope with him yet. Splatt did okay, but I don't think he's going to be the answer to Arsenal's problems. Johan de Joru, I'd say he's still too young to really know if he's going to be good, but he looks promising as well. But I think a lot of people agree they do need somebody there. And perhaps, you know, even if they don't lose Nasri or Fabregas, a good, hard central defensive midfielder, you know, somebody like, well, they've got Alex Song, but somebody with a bit more flair and a lot more grit and just sort of that sort of footballer, I think, is what Arsenal needs. So, blabbed on long enough, I suppose. How do I think they'll go this season? I think Arsenal will be contenders for the Premier League title, but I don't think they'll win it. They're certainly very, very capable. They could finish as high as second, yeah, well, you know, or even first. I think second is a more likely aim for them, and I think they could do it, but they just have to believe in themselves. That's the main thing with Arsenal. You know, they have to have a belief. You look at the teams that have won trophies recently. You know, Manchester United, Chelsea in Europe, and you know, you're looking at teams like Barcelona. Teams that just have a real belief in themselves will achieve things. You know, and I mean, obviously, it's not just belief. You need to be very talented footballers, but Arsenal have got a lot of very talented footballers. The pressure is going to be on Arsene Wenger, possibly a make or break season for him, but I think they can produce something. I'm predicting that Arsenal will finish second in the Premier League. I think it's going to be very tight at the top. I think they will definitely make it into the top four, that's for sure. I did a prediction of all the season's results, and Arsenal actually came out second on the table, so that is how high they rate their chances. That's assuming everything goes right, that they don't lose players, yada yada, you know, Javinho works, yada yada yada. You know, I'm trying to assume the best for them, I suppose, because I think they're capable of achieving it. And also, the other thing is, I do believe they will win a trophy. Maybe not a league, maybe not the Champions League, but I certainly think they're capable of winning either the FA Cup or the League Cup, and I think they may just do it. Okay, so that's what it's going to be like for the next 19 days. Tomorrow, Aston Villa is who I will be talking about, and hopefully you'll be listening to, and we'll be seeing how they go. That is all for now. Hopefully you'll join me tomorrow for some Aston Villa chat. Until then, bye-bye.